Hey there, I'm Aimee here, and welcome to my podcast. This is the podcast that you come to if you are looking for true inspiration and motivation in your life. I will be sharing stories of people who have been through significant traumas, who have been through hardship, adversity, and really deep challenges in their lives, and who have chosen to look at those things as an opportunity to create success in their life. I really hope you enjoy listening in. So today I am joined by the one and only Loz Antonenko, and I just reading your intro, your bio, the things that you've done in such like a short amount of time. Like, you're a kick-ass chick, right?
Oh, thank you.
I'm kind of watching it going, oh my God, like you're almost like speaking to my soul with the things that you've been through and talking about being teased at school and how you use that to fuel your fire. And I'm going, oh my God, yep, that's me. Yep, that's me. So I'm so excited to chat with you today. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Aimee. And it's an absolute pleasure to have a chat to you. And I think that we really resonate at a very deep level with some of the things that we've both personally been through on our journeys as female entrepreneurs and as people on a quest for something greater.
Yeah, let's start with that. I love this female entrepreneur conversation because you and I share a mentor, Jeff, and he rang me one time. It was International Women's Day, and he rang me and he's like, "Happy International Women's Day," and I was like, "All right, Jeff, let's have a conversation about this, okay?" Because yes, I'm all for I am all for International, Women's Day and empowering women. But my thing is, like, I was never brought up to feel like I was different because I was a woman. Like, one of the kind of the great things that I can take from my parents is that they always encouraged me to just go and achieve and go and do, whatever it is that I wanted to do. And that I was never, just because I was a woman, I couldn't do it. And I remember playing mixed touch football one year, and I would never get the ball. And as soon as the guys finally passed it to me, I was like ducking in and out, and I scored. And they were like, "Oh, okay, you can play." And I'm going, "Well, yeah, kind of. I do play for Queensland." Like, being a 13-year-old thinking I was all hot stuff. Like, yeah, pass me the ball and I will score. Okay. But what's your kind of stance on this whole, women empowerment and women entrepreneurs, and how do you feel about it all?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. I'm of a similar situation to you. I went to a co-educational high school. I was supposed to go to a same-sex high school, and a couple of months before I was supposed to start, I realized that I didn't think that I could deal with that, the possibility of being in a single-sex school, just because of the competitive nature of the type of person that I was.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, I played representative sport for my state as well at a period of my life. So being competitive was always part of my nature. Yeah. And I really believe that being able to compete with my peers, whether they be male, female, non-binary, wherever they are on that gender spectrum, right? I think the point of all of that is that I believe that to be included in something where we're talking about inclusive culture, by separating the self as a female and having to label things as like women's football.
Yeah.
I really struggle with that paradigm. And I did study feminist politics as part of my university degree. And we're having these conversations about, the male gaze and hard bodies and femininity and understanding feminine energy. And all of that clearly is a conversation that we all need to have. But I guess the suggestion is that we need these days that represent women entirely. I really struggle with that personally. I believe that it should always be inclusive. But I guess the other side of that coin, Aimee, is that, it isn't. In a recent experience, actually, which is actually quite a poignant point to make, I was invited to join our local Rotary Club where I am in Ipswich. And the Rotary Club was actually a male-only club for a very, very long time. Yeah. You could only be a man. You can only get in as a man.
Yeah.
And it's like I've entered this club now in 2021 as a young female. And it's still such an old boys club, but they're trying to understand how to integrate that feminine energy into that space. So what I've done is I've actually got a massive cohort of women just like me from my area, and we've all joined together and completely shit stirred the entire club up.
I love it.
And it's been amazing. But just to watch that energy shift and that dynamic shift, it's actually great for everybody to learn, because as women, with that, that opposing polarity of energy, it's really made the masculine energies in that club go, oh, you know what, maybe there are different ways to do things. But I think it's all about balance, and it's all about synergy, because you cannot have the yin without the yang. You cannot have the light without the shade. So coming back to what you were saying about Happy International Women's Day, it's like, you know, what about just having a space to hold everybody? And, you know, we may or may never get to that utopian idea of equality, but I think we are chipping away at it. I just feel like we don't need to label it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it is such a sensitive topic, because I suppose you and I have been fortunate to be brought up where we haven't felt like we're different. But I suppose there are so many women who have experienced that, and you know, to kind of understand where they come from, it seems almost foreign, completely foreign to me. And I, like, there have been times or instances where, you know, I've been exposed to, you know, a male energy that kind of looks down on me because I am female. And my response is always, you know, you're no better than me. So
yeah. And I think you're right. And I think it's all really circumstantial. And so it is a really delicate conversation to have. But then, you know, taking that even further, you've got to think about people that, they don't identify. So we talk about male or female. We talk about that gender spectrum, though, you know, man, woman, non-binary, whatever. Like, I think about those sorts of minority groups who, you know, imagine that type of conversation as well. Because I think that once you start giving things labels, and you've got to label everything. Whereas, you know, if we're talking about an inclusive type of situation where it doesn't matter, none of that stuff matters. It's all about just being in harmony and doing the thing that you're really good at, no matter what voice that comes from. Being unique in your own way, and that way, I think, is far more powerful than trying to define yourself by this little box.
Yeah. I keep saying, if we can all just get along and just accept that we're all different. It's like, someone once said to me, it's not wrong, it's just different. And I was like, oh, I love that. Like, can we all just go, oh, you're just different, and that's fine. Or you do something a different way to what I do it, and that's totally cool. I can see your point of view. I don't have to agree with it, or maybe I do agree with it, but I respect that that's just the way that you see it.
And I think respect is the word of the day here in this conversation. It is about respect, and it's understanding that the truth is between two different opinions. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong, everything's unique, and everything is allowed. You know, and I think putting shame and guilt on things depending on the type of person you are, I think that's a whole other conversation.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. So tell me, you've been in business for quite a while. How long have you been operating? Because you started with your father. We actually started when you were 15.
Yeah. So I started my first business when I was 15, and I created like personalized bag tags. It was actually called bag tag. Because my school that I was at, my high school, imposed like standard issue bags that were all the same, and kids kept picking up other kids' bags and taking them home because they just didn't even think about it. So I created this business. It was actually my dad's help during that time to go, you know, stimulating creativity in me. And that, you know, helped me a lot. And then I think basically from there on in, I continued to do my own stuff. So I registered an ABN when I was 16 and was building websites. I was building computers. I was helping people with their operations of their business at that age. And just, I had a lot of attention to detail. I sort of came from a STEMs background. So science, technology, engineering, maths. So I really loved that stuff and sort of processes. So that then morphed into me starting a business with my father upon graduating uni. And I had jobs while I was at uni, like I worked for people, but I realized very quickly that I didn't really like having to work for somebody else. I didn't like, and I guess it was, it was almost an authority thing. I was such a good kid. I never had any detentions, but I think when I started realizing that I was capable of basically doing anything that I put my mind to, if I practiced enough, I could get good at something if I wanted to. Then I realized that, you know, there's so much power in that, because a lot of people don't have that sort of tenacity. They don't have that willingness and eagerness to learn. And that turned into me sort of falling into a business that I didn't really know anything about, and just becoming really good at that, because that's the kind of person I am, very adaptable. And 16 years later, have run multiple businesses. I still have that business. No longer working with my father. We had a bit of a falling out, but you know, that business has gone from like 0 to, you know, 7 figures. It's taken a long time, but we now have staff. I don't work in that business anymore directly. And it's allowed me to take those skills and transfer those into something that is really a more of a mission. So I have another business now that is in far greater alignment with my highest values and the things that mean the most to me. And it's a mission to serve others, to upgrade their lives and improve their energy, their vitality, their body confidence, and looking at things like, you know, what are they eating? How are they sleeping? How are they moving? And it's really about habit change. And that's, I guess, as somebody that's been in business, who's had some really crappy habits that haven't served them, it's always quite a work in progress. And I find that people who are in business tend to not prioritize their own self-care, as somebody that's been guilty of that 100%.
Yeah.
And how the heck can you expect your business to thrive and your mission to serve others to be fulfilled to its greatest potential if you can't even get out of bed at the same time and eat breakfast and make your bloody bed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid, but like the really basic stuff. I mean, that's what I've learned in business is if you don't take care of this person, this being here, there is no possible way that you can serve to your highest potential. Like if you're tired all the time, you're burning the candle at both ends. And, you know, right now I'm just coming through a transitional phase of actually being very guilty of that myself for the last couple of months. I just worked 36 days straight and fell into that trap of just becoming a workaholic. And I've realized, holy crap, I need to take a leap out of my own book again and come back to those things that matter the most to me and take the time out and to create the spaciousness to allow those new ideas to flow and to really bring myself back to the reason why I'm even doing this in the first place.
Let's talk about that. Why is this such a passion for you? Why is this your mission? How have you got to this point?
I think that inherently it's always been part of the type of person that I am. I don't think I realized, but I'm quite a sensitive empath. And for a very long time, I lived my life by the expectations and the moral compass that my dad instilled in me. And that was not really the type of person that I was. So a lot of what I used to do and the type of person that I used to be and the identity that I used to live into was that the only way you could define success was through tangible objects, houses, cars, investments, things, bags, you know, good looking husbands and finding success and that success metric and being the best at things and getting the A pluses at school and getting the great grades. And that was always instilled in me. It was a very military style of understanding the world. And then I had a massive shakeup in 2015 to 2016. And what happened is that my father, whose life I'd basically lived my entire life by and expectations, that actually we had a bit of an issue and he had hit me at work and we had this conflict and it was really devastating. And that turned into this big shit fight where he, you know, wrote me out of his will and he blamed me for these things, that he tried to take the business down and take me down with it. And it was all just a coping thing for him. My dad has a lot of underlying issues that he hasn't worked through himself. And it really threw me under the bus and it made me go, holy crap, everything that I've thought to be true, that I've known about the way that I view my world is a lie. And then 6 months after that, my husband committed suicide. And my dad blamed me for that. And so here, like this world that existed that was perfect and amazing with this tangible success and like everything, basically I stripped down to nothing. Like, you know, hypothetically, I didn't know who I was anymore. I completely lost touch with my identity. And I think at the depths of all of that though, Aimee, I realized that the person was still there. The essence of the person that I wanted to be was there. It's just been hiding under these mounds of expectations and these ideologies that were instilled upon me. And I started doing some deep diving into self-development. That's really what happened. And I started as a way of rescuing myself and trying to find some clarity and understanding about what the fuck was going on with my life. I started reading and listening to podcasts. So podcasts, I'd never listened to a podcast. And the man who would become my husband that I have now introduced me to podcasts. And he said, you know, you should listen to Tony Robbins. I'm like, who the hell's Tony Robbins?
Oh, really? You didn't know who Tony Robbins was?
No, well, I knew that he was in Shallow Hal. I knew he was this guy. Honestly,
he's the guy with the big hands in Shallow.
Yeah, and I didn't really know because it wasn't part of the person that I was. Like, it wasn't part of my scope. So, you know, a woman in her I just turned like 31, and because my husband killed himself 2 days after my 31st birthday. So like I just turned 31 and, you know, all of this shit happened. And basically I started looking into self-development. I started reevaluating my relationship with food. In a way of coping, I went to the gym and I started lifting weights because I figured that if I could compartmentalize subjectivity and objectivity in a way of coping, and like if I could put my subjective emotions over here and just park them until I work through them, but I could objectively quantify the fact that I was making progress. And maybe that looked like starting with 1 kilo dumbbells and going from 1 to 2, then 2 to 3, 3 to 4, which is literally what actually happened.
Yeah.
Then I was progressing through something without having to think about it, without having to rationalize it, without having to justify it. And that turned into this entire shift for me over 6 months where, so not only was I fueling myself better, I was going really deep about what I was actually here for and what my purpose was in life, but I was also getting physical results. And I went from being quite average and really self-loathing in the way that I looked and felt about myself with body confidence. And in 6 months had completely transformed my body. And by the end of 2016, my husband his name was Brian, and he was quite fit and healthy and very into looking good. And he had muscle dysmorphia. He never felt good enough.
Yeah.
By the end of that year, I decided I would do a bodybuilding competition as a legacy to him, because he always wanted to do one, but didn't have the confidence. He totally could have done it.
Yeah.
But he didn't believe that he could. And that then turned into this absolute obsession with being better and improving. And I actually developed a completely disordered view of the world. I developed what I refer to as orthorexia. I was constantly obsessed with living this healthy life. I had to measure everything and count everything. And I actually was, looking back, completely miserable with my life. And I was just filling this void that had been created by these losses. And I fast forward many, many years later, I've realized that when you zig so far in one direction, which is what happened when all those devastating things happen, you have to zag an equal amount in the opposite direction to really find that space in the middle where you've got true harmony and synergy and abundance. Because it's there, but for somebody like me, who's a chronic overachiever, it's like you constantly flow, but you fluctuate between these two polarities. And so, part of that process was my body broke down. I developed a second autoimmune disease. I have a couple of autoimmune diseases. I had a hole in my heart. I got that fixed. I had a tumor. I had a brain tumor. I had to, have medication for that. But I've sort of come out the other side of that going, I think I know what I want to do. And I think what I want to do, and this came from other people noticing this transformation that I'd made, because I was super stuck, and I went basically from what I call stuck to unstoppable, because I can do anything. I know that. Yeah. Whatever I want to do, I can develop a skill. Went to learn to ride a motorbike last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, like I'd never sat on a motorbike. I've never even driven a manual car. I've never used a clutch. And I had to teach myself that skill set. So I'm really fixated on being able to get good at that skill. But the reason I mentioned that is that people kept noticing this, and I thought, they go, how the hell did you do that? How the hell did you do that? How did you keep going? And I'm like, I don't know. But then I realized that most people wouldn't actually know how to get themselves out of a situation. And I looked at my process and I pulled it apart and created a blueprint process, which I call the healthy habit hierarchy, which is basically a systematic hierarchical approach to changing your life one type of habit at a time. Yeah. And it's 5 M's, and it basically follows the approach that I did. And that has become my mission to serve other people. So I think it's always been there, working in the mobility equipment industry, which is the business that I started with my father, helping people develop more independence and improve the quality of life. That's been completely transferable to my business now, which is called Loz Life. And a new part of this business now is that I actually mentor other coaches, so people who are on a path to, like I am, who just want to help people, and mentor them to help them help themselves understand exactly what it is that they do, so they can become better coaches. Yeah. And that to me has been the most rewarding part of this. And I didn't realize that I would really love to help people and watch people grow. And that is the power of somebody that is a natural born leader and coach, which I know that I am, because it fills your cup up. When you see somebody thrive and go from survival to thrive, it's just like, holy shit, mic drop, I'm done. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's something powerful that resonates with you, and it makes you feel so good that you've been part of that person's process and you've just allowed them to flourish into the person they were always destined to be. So that's a really convoluted version of how that all happened. Yeah. But now my biggest mission is just to help people, no matter where they are on that wellness continuum. If they're in a state of health crisis and they're like, you know what, my doctor told me I got to go lose 20, 30, 40 kilos, because otherwise I'm going to get diabetes. I'm going to be sick. or maybe they're just looking to, you know, come alive again. Maybe they're missing, you know, their mojo, they're feeling frumpy. And, you know, it's about helping them just get a little bit more control back in their life to feel better and feel more confident. And then at the other end of the spectrum, it's like all the people that are doing all those things, right? They're eating well, they're sleeping well, they're training well, they're moving well, they're creating spaciousness. What else is there? Like, how can we hack that to get an even like more 1% out of each of those things and just start to optimize you for more human performance? And that's what Loz Life does. We look at all those parts of the spectrum, and I have a team of coaches that help us get people there. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's so much fun working with other humans and seeing what human potential we can unlock and, you know, upgrade people's vibration and consciousness to because we are all one consciousness, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that, you know, you just have so much passion for it. And I love that you talk about, you know, helping other people to achieve their goals, because I mean, I know I find it with my work that you look at people and you just go, oh, if only you just saw this differently. If only you just looked at it from this angle over here, rather than the angle that you're looking at it from over here, how much you could change. You can literally change your entire life in a split second by making a choice. I'm going to view this differently. And, you know, you also talk about failing forward. And I love that, because I'm the kind of person, I love to talk about the failures, because the failures are the things that drive us to success. The failures are the things that are lessons. And if we perceive everything that outwardly people on the outside will go, oh, you failed. No, if I look at this as I've learned, then you never fail. And I love that you say, like you talk about it in your bio, you say, I failed forward. Let's talk about that. Let's kind of go into the failures, because this is the juicy stuff, right? This is the stuff where it's like, oh, I did it this way and this kind of didn't work. And, you know, I have people sometimes will say to me through kind of my perceived failures, outwardly perceived failures, I call them, that people go, oh, how are you still doing it? Like, I'd be in the corner crying. I'm like, but that's the point. That's the whole thing, is not sitting in the corner crying. It's going, oh, that didn't work that way, but how could I do this differently? So let's talk about your failures.
Yeah. And I think failing forward, and that's the way that I sort of frame it. And I think really the outcome is I reframe failure as feedback.
Yeah, cool.
So if we fail form and reframe it as feedback, because if we fail forward, then it means that we work out how not to do things. And I think there's a quote by Thomas Edison, and I'm completely not doing it justice, but it's like, he worked out 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Yes. Yeah.
Basically, it's like you fucked up that many times. But I mean, there's still people go, I've tried weight loss. Let's use this as a primary example, because it's an easy one, because people can relate. People come to me and they're like, I've tried everything. I'm like, well, you haven't. You haven't, because if you tried everything, you wouldn't have a problem. But they go, I've tried everything. I've tried Trendy Craig. I've tried Weight Watchers. I've tried the Lady Shake. Whatever it is that they've tried. Yep. And then they get really disheartened because they're not getting the results that they expected, because there's an expectation that these things are going to work. This external thing is going to actually find the result that they want, when really it's a lot of internal work. And the thing is, like, diets don't work. People, because diets don't fit people. You need to, well, rather, people don't fit diets. You've got to make it about what works for you and how it serves you, and educate yourself about your unique biology and whatever is going on for you, and then create an eating system around that. And, you know, when people realize that, all of a sudden it just unlocks something, and you teach them something that they didn't know. And the beauty of that is that you don't know what you don't know, but once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. It's like seeing something, you can't unsee it. Yeah. You know, and it's one of those situations where, like, I look at my life and the things that were perceived failures. And, you know, back in the day, the old version of myself that was really unenlightened about this thing, I would get so upset. I actually had this conversation at a women's breakfast this morning I was at. And my friend, who's literally the very opposite energy to me, and we get on so well because she's so complimentary. She's like got like bleached hair that she always colors pink or green, and she's like, she shaves it to a blade one. She's got tattoos and piercings, loud and obnoxious, and she's an absolute badass, right? Used to get detentions all the time at school. I never even had a lunchtime detention. I was such a goody two shoes, such a teacher. But we were talking about this, and we were talking about the expectations we have on ourselves. And I was just like, I remember being in science, like I did physics, like nobody does physics, right? Nobody does physics.
Yeah.
I did physics, and like there was this exam, our final exam, and like nobody got an A. Everybody got like a B or lower. Most people didn't even pass. I got an A minus, and I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Because I had this expectation on myself that I need to get an A plus. And I look at things like that, and I think that we're really, really conditioned socially to look at failure as just, yeah, that's it, like it's the end of the line. And you think about it, like when they mark great, like they don't do it now, but when I was a kid, if they'd mark an exam, they'd use a big fuck off red pen and put a big cross through things, and it's like really obvious. It's like you need to suffer as a consequence of the things that you stuffed up. And you know, you carry that through. And I realize now the education system, there's been a bit of a paradigm shift now, and they're rating
thankfully
way. Yeah. And look, I'm a little bit outside of that. I'm not really privy to understanding what that's like. I don't have kids. But I can see now they're realizing, well, that system doesn't really work that well. It's more about positive reinforcement. So I guess what I do now in my personal life and as a coach with other people is it's about really celebrating those wins and realizing that everything happens for a reason. And, you know, if something doesn't go your way, you need to actually start asking yourself better questions about why that was a trigger for you. Like if something is coming up for you and you're pissed off, you're resentful, you're feeling all of these emotions that maybe aren't serving you really to your highest identity. Start questioning, like, why am I feeling like this? Like what has this stirred, and where has this come from? Is there something that happened a while ago that I actually haven't dealt with? And this is, I guess, like Tony Robbins, is going back to him. He says, you know, the quality of life is dictated by the quality of your questions. And if you're just sitting there in a state of just discontent all the time, you're always shitty with the world, why me, woe is me, you know, being sorry for yourself and beating yourself up and crying in the corner, because a lot of people do that. I think the real question is like, why haven't you asked yourself why you're feeling like that? Because you don't need to feel like that.
Absolutely.
It doesn't serve you. Like if it doesn't look, I get that being like, it's okay to be pissed off at stuff, like that's okay. But like if that's eating at you, it's probably causing you cellular damage to some degree. It's causing you oxidative stress. It's going to make you die quicker. You're going to feel like shit. You're going to make everybody around you feel like shit. So, you know, if you don't want to be that person, start asking yourself why. And I think that whole failing forward has made me recognize that all of the inner critic that used to be inside me all the time, I was always a glass half empty kind of person, right? Has made me realize that, you know, once I decondition myself and reprogram the way that I think, and I'm not going to say that I'm perfect all the time. Like I've been pissed off this week about things. But I've done the work and I journal it out, and I write down like what my contractions are, like asking myself at the really deepest level, why am I feeling like this right now? And writing it out and releasing that toxic energy from me, and letting somebody else read it too. So I actually have a group that I'm in now, and I will journal, and everybody in that group can read everything that I'm putting down. It actually creates an entire new level of transparency where you have nothing holds you back. If you're willing to share, they're willing to listen, and there's no bias. And I think as a coach and a business person, especially, it's really important to have that peer support and that transparent peer support, whether it's a mentor or it's a peer group, or you know, it's some level of support that helps you realize that, you know, they're valid, those emotions that we experience when we're feeling angry with something, we're feeling like we've failed. But at the end of the day, it's shared. Like you're not unique in your feeling. Everybody's going through some shit. Everyone's got their front page news. And if you just let that go, it actually creates an empty fullness and a full emptiness where you've got this oneness and this openness to actually experience other types of pleasurable and not pleasurable things that can happen in your life, because that's what life's all about.
Absolutely. Take a little bit of ownership for yourself and your own thoughts, feelings, and reactions. And I love that, going within. It's something that I've learned, you know, the last probably 2 years is stepping out of, I call it the pity party, stepping out of the pity party and not throwing myself this, you know, come and be a victim with me and come and feel sorry for me, and you know, trauma bonding with all people over, you know, just feeling sad and sorry for yourself. And when I was able to step out of it and ask, why is this coming up for me? And, you know, why am I in this situation where I go, this keeps happening to me? And as soon as you can pull yourself out of that and go, why why is this happening? And I love that. I absolutely love that you do that. And I think, you know what, if this goes out and someone who's in that place in their life, you know, listens to it or watches it and they go, oh my God, that's what I'm doing, then you know what, I'm happy with that. Yeah. If someone can watch this and go, oh, I'm that person, I need to not be that person, what do I do? Ask yourself why are you that person? Step back and
and who do you want to be? Like what? And think about, I think the power is, rather than thinking who am I right now, if we remove that concept and that construct and go, what kind of person do I want to be? And what kind of things does that person do? And what kind of things does that person ask and think and feel? And if I want to be that person down the track and I want to engineer my life to become that type of person, to live that type of lifestyle, what kind of things do I need to do right now in this very moment? And this emotion and this thought that I'm having, is that serving me to get to that position?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I always come back to. I'm like, cool. Well, I'm going to be the type of person that is this XYZ. Will XYZ be having these stupid conversations in my own head about this? Because really that's none of this matters.
Yep.
This is superficial. This is stupid. This is selfish. Cool. I'm going to let go of that now. And I'm going to go move on to this other thing.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of conditioning and practice to do that. But so does driving a car and riding a motorbike. Yeah. Practice.
Absolutely. Yes. So Loz, thank you so much for joining me. If people want to get some more information, where can they go?
Head over to lozlife.com. That's LOZLIFE.com, or come and find me on social media. It's Loz Antonenko. You say it and you spell it the same way. It's super easy. I am in the process of reconstructing my entire brand strategy. So my website is having a bit of an overhaul. Everything's having a bit of an overhaul over the next couple of months, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, come find me there. Shout out, guys. Come connect. I'm a friendly, normal human being like you are, like we all are. And I'd love to help you. If you're stuck, please share it with me. There's nothing so traumatic and so scary that there's not a face, a place, a time, and a space. You can't share that with somebody.
Absolutely. And we will post all of the links in all of our info below. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. I really appreciated having a chat today.
Well, there you have it. Yet another inspirational and motivational story that we were able to share with you. Please don't keep us a secret. Share the love across all of the social media platforms. The more the merrier. If we can get the message out to as many people as possible, then we can inspire and motivate as many people as possible. Really hope you enjoyed today's episode and look forward to sharing another one with you next time.